It's Six King Slam time in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And surprise, surprise, we have a final between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. And they're fighting for $6 million.
That's right, JG, the Six King Slam back again. And whilst all the other players on tour are off playing actual tennis tournaments, we've got a few players who just travel to Saudi for a high stakes exhibition, I call this one. Some people turning up for a bit of a payday, some other people turning up for some actual tennis. And I think this is probably going to be the first real tennis match we've seen at the Six King Slam in this final, because I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the tournament has been a little bit of a bore so far.
I'm not sure about bore. I think you could say predictable for sure. And we're at this stage with the other matches meaning very little because it's inevitable. We will reach Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz in the final. Djokovic, he tried a little bit against Jannik Sinner, but there was no comparison. I feel Djokovic cannot get close to him. For sure, his worst matchup on tour. Physically, of course, he wasn't his best following what happened recently in China, and Jannik Sinner tore him apart. And it was the same, really, with Carlos Alcaraz in the other one. There is two players who also played for not very long in the tournament. Let me just get them up because we had Zverev and Tsitsipas. Zverev playing 58 minutes, I think, which works out $431 per second for Sasha Zverev. So I'll say that again, just shy of $500 every second for Zverev. It amounts to 1.5 million just for entering, just for showing up. Tsitsipas, the other victim. I say victim, it's not really a bad thing for him, is it? But I don't know if the boring's the way, because Tsitsipas, I actually enjoyed some of his match. I thought he hit some really good shots and showed a good level in there. Zverev, not so much. And you can't blame the players. I think fair play. I think every single person in the world, if was offered the chance to go and play a match which means nothing for $1.5 million, as much as winning most of the big tournaments in the world right now, you would do it. I mean, it's not that far off winning a Grand Slam just by turning up at this exhibition.
It's actually insane. I think probably Stefanos Tsitsipas has had the best wild card entry into a tournament of the whole entire year. Jack Draper obviously dropping out through injury, and he's probably kicking himself that he wasn't able to just turn up on a court and play some tennis, because he misses out on $1.5 million in doing so. Tsitsipas turned up, lost in straight sets. Zverev turned up, lost in straight sets. A bit similar to last year. Medvedev turned up, got bageled, I think, in the first set of his match, but still collected a lot of money. And we end up with the same two players. I mean, if it wasn't those two players in the final, I think it wouldn't be what they wanted. So I think that there is sort of for me, there's a little bit of a narrative when you come into this tournament. I didn't think Djokovic really played to his full potential, really. I think Jannik Sinner served fantastically well and played a good level, but this wasn't Djokovic really pushing himself on the stretch, everything. He was laughing and joking a bit on the court, which is nice to see, because he's there just to sort of give the crowd a chance to see him. And that's it, really. He gave them a word on the mic afterwards, even though the loser isn't supposed to do so. But that's because he's Novak Djokovic, and that's what the crowd wanted. He signed a few things for the fans afterwards. Everybody goes home happy. They got to see the GOAT in action. But the real match is the final, and we all knew that.
Yeah, I mean, you could make this event as just the showdown between number one and number two in the world, and it wouldn't lose any value from a tennis standpoint. In fact, it would wouldn't waste any time. It'd go straight cut to the chase. But this is a big match, $4.5 million at stake for the winner. They get $6 million. if you put that in comparison to the other slams, you can see there. US Open 3.6. I think it's gone up though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the US Open may be 5 million, but speak in the comment sections about that one. US Open, we know that's the least 2.1. Roland Garros 2.6. Wimbledon 3.4. I think that's also gone up slightly as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to have a quick check just to see if we could see the actual prize money for the US Open. I was going to put it up. Let me just see if I can find it quickly. Here we go. Yeah, so I believe you are correct. Here we
Yeah,
go.
it's 5.
There you go. So there it is, 5 million, and the runner-up gets 2.5 million. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I saw that being a.
I remember it being the biggest one, but still, it's less than this tournament in which you win 2 matches.
Well, one match really. If I'm perfectly
Yeah.
honest, it's just all you got to do if you're Jannik Sinner is beat Carlos Alcaraz, which sounds difficult for anybody on the tour, and vice versa. He's got to beat Jannik Sinner. It's the toughest match for either of them, and I think Jannik Sinner is going to have a score to settle coming into this one. Obviously, he hasn't really had it all his own way recently. US Open, most recently, Carlos Alcaraz looking pretty dominant. Did him at Roland Garros. Sinner did him at Wimbledon. But last year in Riyadh, it was obviously Jannik Sinner who won the Six King Slam last year. Do you reckon he'll draw any confidence from already beating him in this tournament and taking that big money prize last year?
I'm not sure. I think it's a real toss-up. It's a difficult match to call. Not much separating these two. I think Jannik Sinner has more to lose because for getting the money and this event, I don't think Jannik Sinner wants to lose to Carlos Alcaraz as much as he has been. And what we've seen him do is go away on the practice courts and change his whole game. He's coming to the net, he's doing volleying, he's changing his tactics, he's thinking about the sport differently. He's trying to be a little bit more unpredictable. And that's what you get with Carlos Alcaraz. Taylor Fritz summed it up quite well. I don't know if you saw his quote. He said, with Jannik Sinner, you know what you're going to get every time. But because he's so good from the baseline and just pretty much flawless and perfect at what he does, you can't beat him. With Carlos Alcaraz, more or less 90% of the shots, you don't have a clue where it's going to go. The drop shot can come at any time. He can hit 5, 6 in a row. He can go anywhere. Lob, deep, slice, this. He's got every shot in the book, and it's very unpredictable. I genuinely don't think Carlos Alcaraz often knows what he's going to do just before he does it. And that makes him a really challenging player for players to beat. Jannik Sinner's been able to do it on some big stages. We saw him do it at Wimbledon, which was huge. But he has fallen more times than not. And I don't know if you've got their recent head-to-head, but Jannik Sinner has struggled to beat Carlos Alcaraz. The US Open, Alcaraz won. Cincinnati, Alcaraz won. Then, of course, Wimbledon, Sinner had. Before that, it was then Alcaraz. We had, well, that was the here last year. Sinner 1 in 3. Then an Alcaraz. Alcaraz is dominating this rivalry the last few years. He is the world number 1. He played incredibly well against Taylor Fritz. Yes. And I think in Djokovic's physical state, probably Taylor Fritz could have actually beaten Djokovic, I think, because it wasn't a better version of Djokovic. Of course, it's not a prime Djokovic, but it wasn't him feeding his best. You never really know. But based off where they're at right now, on the 16th of October, as I'm speaking, probably Fritz is slightly ahead of Djokovic. And I think Alcaraz had a tougher match, and he was very good in that match.
Yes, it was a tougher match to Taylor Fritz. You got to obviously think back to they played at the Laver Cup, which is, for me, another exhibition, and Fritz actually did beat him. So I thought coming in here, it might be a little bit closer. I thought Fritz might have the pressure off like in the Laver Cup, but nope. Alcaraz, you're right. You'd never know what he's going to do. And he hit 12 out of 13 amazing drop shots today, effective drop shots. That was one of their stats. I think they brought up 12 out of 13. He was even surprised. He was like, whoa, was it that many? When he was in the post-match interview with Laura Robson and Tim Henman. But that just goes to show when he's hitting that drop shot really well, he's just such a nightmare because he was hitting a drop shot with the deftest touch. Then the next shot was absolute power. So you don't know what's coming next. Where do I need to be? 5 meters behind the baseline or right up to the net where I have to get this little drop shot as well? Crowd loved it. And he was off the court in, I think it was the same amount of games, wasn't it, as Sinner? Wasn't it 6-4, 6-2 for both of them? Yeah, it was exactly the same scoreline. So they're mirroring each other's scores, which is actually crazy. Yeah, and I definitely think that he had the tougher match. And you can see here, he finished the match with 6 aces, 30 winners, and only 8 unforced errors. And that was sort of mirrored a little bit by Jannik Sinner, because one of the main things that even Djokovic spoke about after the match was Sinner's serve. If he serves like that, he was getting so many cheap points. Even when Djokovic got a break point, it was just like boom, boom, boom. Even the second serve was amazing as well. And he just said, yeah, well, been practicing a lot on the ball toss. I don't give any telling signs on where I'm going to throw the ball up so you can guess where I'm going to serve it. And yeah, it just proved. Look at this stat. Sinner served 84% in the first set, 9 aces, and he only served 48% in the US Open final. Still think Sinner having these range of serving outcomes is going to be an obstacle against Alcaraz. Yeah, has to serve better.
Yeah, I'm looking at the match and when it's going to be. So it will be Saturday in the UK at 5 p.m. So
Yeah.
prime time, good spot. Obviously, they'll have a day's rest and then go back at it. And with the odds, it's extremely close, as you can imagine. But they have Jannik Sinner as the marginal favourite, 1.8 to 2. What do you make about that? Because I was expecting it to be Alcaraz slight favourite.
I think that they've gone with that just based upon last year a little bit, and I think they've gone with it based upon how well he's serving. That's all I can say. If he serves like that, he's going to be a real problem to beat because neither of the players have been tested either. It's not like
Can
they're
you not just say that Alcaraz is also playing the best bit of tennis we've ever seen from him as well? I don't think
because
he's I
should
don't
just
think
be
he's too
level.
far off his best.
1.91 each, I think it should be.
Okay, can we agree it's a 3-set match?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has to be. And it's going to be a good match. This is the actual tennis that we're going to want to see.
Or do they
This is,
care? Do they really want to
yeah,
win? Because it's an
yes,
exhibition.
yes.
Obviously, there's all that money at stake. Do you think money is the only driving factor?
No, I don't think so. The only thing I'm interested to see in this one is how
How can it
much.
not be though, Ben? 6 million.
Oh, it's a lot. But don't forget, it's like the difference between probably like, what they're going to get 3 million or 6 million or something like that. There's going to still be money in it for each of them. And when you've already got multi millions, they probably it just becomes another number in the bank, I'm sure, for them. Obviously, it's a significant amount, but I think when you're these two and you're competitive, Sinner, I'm interested to see if he starts actually throwing in the changes to see if, oh, do I test out a few things because it's an exhibition this time? It's not on the proper record. Do I go for a few of the new things I've been trialing, or do I save them for a competitive match? Because when they play in the tour finals, probably, let's say they can meet in the final of the ATP Tour finals, he might want to start testing it out then. Might have a few new tricks that he wants to throw out in a competitive match rather than give all the game away now.
And on top of that, it does mean more for Sinner because he keeps losing to Carlos Alcaraz. And since he's changed his game style a little bit, let's see if he will use any of these changes against him, because we've never seen that. We've only ever
Nope.
seen Jannik play one way against Carlos, and
Yep.
it's not been successful more times than not. If he does serve well, I still think Jannik Sinner's game plan being the way he plays, game plan number one or A, whatever you want to call it, beats everyone.
It's tough to argue with. But then there's always that side of things
Needs
where
to serve well though.
he needs to serve well, but then I still think of what a lot of the other former professionals have said, which is he probably is the better player when it comes to just your bog standard. That's their run of the mill line that they're playing at. But when Alcaraz turns it on, his top line goes above Jannik Sinner's top line. And that is what, if we get to see that in the final, and Jannik Sinner is at like a 90% the whole time, and Alcaraz hits 100% on multiple occasions and goes up and down at the right moments of sets, he can win them. We've seen him do it to Sinner before, and that's what makes it so interesting, because his line that he's running at normally is a bit more like bumpy all the way along, but the peaks are a little bit higher than Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, let's get to a prediction, and then I want to say a word about Djokovic to end the video. So if
Okay.
we go back to the graphic, let's give our thoughts on the final. As a reminder, it will be Saturday night in the UK at 5 p.m. I know some people say, "Oh, what was the time in this time zone?" I'm not that smart. I'm sorry, I don't know what time. But if you just type in 5 p.m. UK time, I'm sure it will be able to. You can translate it quite easily to your own time. I think that this match will be 3 sets, like I've already said. And I may surprise some people because I'm going for Carlos Alcaraz for the victory. I think he has been more consistent of late, playing extremely well. Thought he was impressive against Fritz in a tougher match than what Djokovic was able to put up. And yeah, I'm going to be going for Carlos Alcaraz to win the match in 3.
Right. Before I give my prediction, I was going to say, like, looking at the pictures that they've given for both of the players, is it me or Jannik Sinner looks a little bit odd in his one? They've given, doesn't look quite like him. I don't know what's going on with the chin and the
I think
mouth.
they've used for the adverts and a lot of things like AI. It's not actually
Yeah.
the players, but this is not that. I think it's because it's a drawing.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It doesn't quite look like his bottom part of his face,
It's a
but
drawing.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but we still know it's him. And I'm going to cut to the chase. I think it's going to be 3 sets. I think most people probably do. And I think Sinner's going to be really chomping at the bit to get this one back. I think that this will help him mentally. I think Sinner will win it again in 3 sets.
Okay. There we go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. One last remark about this tournament, and that was Djokovic speaking. I'm not sure if it was before the match or after the match. I think it was slightly before the match. There was an opportunity for him to speak to the press, and it was on him retiring. Is he going to retire soon? How he answered was no. He wants to stick about. I am slightly surprised because no, sorry, I'm not surprised in his response, but I would be surprised to see him play into not next season, the season after. I generally feel like next season will be his last on the tour, but he seems to think he doesn't want to. He thinks longevity is so important. It's what motivates him to keep playing. He's seen LeBron and Ronaldo in their 40s motivating him still playing. Tom Brady, I think, even was playing into his 40s, and he wants to experience the change which is happening in tennis right now. I just don't think a champion of the stature of Novak Djokovic, who's won everything and completed tennis, will be content with just having longevity to keep him playing when he's going to be regularly playing these Grand Slams and losing. Because I
Yeah.
don't see him winning one. I don't see him probably making finals again.
Is he just hoping that they go out early, because it's a big ask for both of them to go out in a slam? That's, you need 2
But
shots.
he wasn't a great this year. We saw glimpses, and he was still the third best player in the world. But
Exactly.
next year, I think it's a big ask even to suggest that he can be the third best player. He's only going to get worse. He's not going to all of a sudden get better next year.
Come
This
on,
is a
AI.
decline.
We need some sort of robotic change in Novak Djokovic's camp. He's got the money. Come on. There must be some science out there that can reduce the Djokovic biological age by 10 years. Imagine if we could reduce his age by 10 years and we get another 10 years of him versus these two. That would be a great. thing for the tour, but I'm sure his wife and kids might want to see him over the next few years as well. Might not want to be traveling around the tour with him. I think it's nice that he still believes in himself, though, and I don't blame him. He's made so many semi-finals of slams this year. It's only 2 players who can beat him. I still think he's holding on to the hope that he won't have to meet them at a slam at some point, and that's all I can think, because even though I'm a big Djokovic fan, I don't see him beating either of them if he meets them at a slam.
Definitely. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. We'll be watching the Six Kings Slam final on Netflix. Make sure you get your account ready for that and enjoy, because this should be a good match. As much as you're saying maybe a bit boring so far, fair enough. It's been predictable, but this one is not predictable. This should be a blockbuster, a really good final, a lot of money at stake, and the 2 best players in the world. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you very soon.